Hello, and thank you for attending this presentation today as we meet virtually and adapt to new conference formats and presentation technology. My name is Jordan MacDonald, and I recently completed my Master of Science in Capacity Development and Extension at the University of Guelph. This presentation is based on my recent graduate work there. Before I begin my formal presentation today, as I am located on Prince Edward Island, I would like to acknowledge that the land in which I live is the traditional and unceded territory of the Lennox Island Mi'kmaq First Nation. As we meet virtually, I would like to encourage everyone to learn more about the land on which you are located. I'm excited to have the opportunity to share with you today my presentation, Community Integration of Nonprofit Organizations, a study of Nova Scotia's employment services ecosystem. My own personal experience and initial research on the nonprofit delivery of employment services indicated that there is a lack of research and understanding of nonprofit organizations' role in the delivery of Canada's public employment service, and that many provinces, such as Nova Scotia, rely heavily on nonprofits to deliver employment services, yet it is unknown if or how nonprofits leverage government service contracts to address local needs. These features inform the research question that guides this project. How do nonprofit employment service providers in Nova Scotia integrate into their local communities and promote place-based policy, programs, and services to address labor market needs? As some context to this project, I would like to share with you a bit more about the Nova Scotia Works employment services ecosystem today. This ecosystem is made up of four pillar organizations, namely the Nova Scotia Department of Labor and Advanced Education through its agency Employment Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Works contract holders themselves, which are 17 nonprofit and for-profit organizations offering over 50 points of service throughout the province, the Centre for Employment Innovation, a newly formed organization that focuses on four key areas, and the Nova Scotia Career Development Association, which is another nonprofit organization representing career development professionals in the province and maintains the certification and maintenance of certified career development practitioners. I completed my own original data collection to explore my guiding question. To gather this information, I completed telephone interviews with representatives of 9 Nova Scotia Works contract holders and 3 individuals from pillar organizations for a total of 12 key informant interviews. These were all completed between November of 2019 to February of 2020. As a result, there's a few limitations that folks should be aware of when interpreting these results, namely that I was unable to attain an interview with a government representative, and so this perspective is not necessarily reflected in the data collected. As well, interviews were completed prior to the COVID-19 pandemic and the influences that it has had in our local region. To present the findings of this research project, I have created a conceptual framework that identifies 4 interdependent sets of activities and functions that help organizations integrate into their communities of service. These include connecting, being present, internalizing, and operationalizing. It's important to remember that this is not a linear process, as some functions are standalone or may be influenced by some of the other functions taking place within the sector. The first element of the conceptual framework is connecting. Connecting captures activities that reach out beyond organizational boundaries to gather insights and foster relationships and partnerships with other organizations in the local environment. Connecting also promotes the notion that each organization has open organizational boundaries that promote the bidirectional flow of information between the organization and other external entities. There are 4 attributes to connecting: networking and relationship building, staff, board members, and convening community. Networking and relationship building reflects the professional connections the organization builds with other organizations. This could be collaboration among pillar organizations or engagement with non-pillar departments, agencies, economic development, and social service nonprofits. Staff have a connecting role as part of their jobs within the organization as well as in their personal pursuits. This could be by holding positions of leadership, such as executive director, having a role that it requires you to connect with your community, such as employer engagement specialist, or when we're outside of work hours, staff are often community volunteers in organizations like school associations, health groups, social clubs, and this offers an opportunity for these individuals to take back learnings from the public sector into the organization. Board members, often organizational board members, are the staff or volunteers with other social service nonprofits or champions within the community for related causes. Some staff of the organization may also be board members of other nonprofit groups. This creates a linkage between members of the nonprofit and the community sector at the level of board governance. Finally, convening community. Nova Scotia Work Centres convene community members in ways that are directly related to their service mandate as well as their social purpose in the community. These can be through Nova Scotia Works related activities like job fairs or more community focused events such as newcomer potlucks, multicultural festivals, community celebrations, such as historic sports achievements or civic opportunities by members of the community. The second component of the conceptual framework is being present. This reflects how the organizations manifest in their physical, digital, and psychological spaces that they occupy. Nonprofit organizations operating Nova Scotia Work Centres become members of the local, social, community economic fabric and become a part of the nonprofit organizational networks through their physical and online presence. There are three attributes of being present: tangible, intangible, and understand. Tangible represents the physical, built environment in which the organization operates. This could mean the proximity to other community partners and related services, or the actual accessibility of the location, whether that be closeness to a downtown core or the accessibility supports that are offered within the facility itself. Intangible reflects that contract holders also interact with their communities through less physical means, including well-informed website listings that offer programs and services, and job postings. Many organizations also reported a heavy use of social media channels, including Facebook pages that offer a high degree of localized content. Understand reflects ways in which the nonprofit organization is able to interpret and understand the individuals and organizations it works with. For instance, completing research on labor market data to gain a better picture of the community, learning about clients through service interactions. And finally, staff are also present in the community and hold local knowledge. This can be seen by being a part of the local grapevine, understanding nuanced changes in the community, and anticipating events. This includes finding out about unposted jobs and understanding the seasonality of the local labor market. The third part of my conceptual framework is internalizing. Internalizing activities provide an opportunity for the organization and staff to reflect on the learning from connecting and being present. It also allows the contract holder to consider attributes of the organization in comparison to its local context and the actors that may be present in the local environment. Internalizing is made up of two attributes: niche and internal integration. For niche, it's important to recognize that employment and employability skills training is offered by a number of socially focused organizations. This is often as a component of wider organizational pursuits. This includes other social service organizations, such as those addressing domestic violence, mental health, immigration, or overall community economic development. These organizations also offer employment and skills training related activities as part of their other functions. Contract holders found it could be challenging to carve out their own specific niche in their services that they deliver when multiple organizations offered similar programs. Internal integration reflects the two different types of contract holders. The first is employment service focus. These are organizations whose sole purpose is the delivery of the Nova Scotia Works contract. The second is organizations that have employment services as a component of their overall service offerings. These organizations have a wider community service or economic development mandate and include Nova Scotia Work Centres as part of their overall portfolio. For these organizations, it's important to have an internal synergy amongst all the component parts to realize the best outcomes for each of the clients. The final component of this conceptual framework is operationalizing. Operationalizing reflects the putting into practice of learnings from connecting, being present, and internalizing. Actions of the organization must align and be in accordance with contractual, organizational, and contextual realities. It is also important to note that all Nova Scotia Work Centres offer the same core set of services throughout the province. However, some organizations may adapt their services to meet local needs through the types of training offered or by applying to separate funding programs that complement the Nova Scotia Works suite of services. Operationalizing entails three core functions, including Nova Scotia Works suite of services, auxiliary services beyond Nova Scotia Works, and the role of the Nova Scotia Works Centre in its community. With respect to Nova Scotia Works suite of services, these are the common set of services that all Nova Scotia Works contract holders must provide to their clients. This includes computers, resource center, career counseling, workshops, training programs, funding opportunities for job seekers and employers. These workshops and training programs are also offered based on client needs and in regard to the local labor market demands and conditions. In terms of auxiliary services beyond Nova Scotia Works, some organizations offer additional programs that align with their own mission or as a response to community need. For example, some organizations report having multicultural festivals, newcomer welcomings, and diversity potlucks, and others operate employment social enterprises that act as training institutions or that offer opportunities for individuals to practice workplace skills while generating income for the other pursuits of the organization. The role of the Nova Scotia Work Centre in its community is a little bit more descriptive or has more detail within it. There appears to be two views on the role of the Nova Scotia Works provider in the community. Under the narrow view, contract holders focus on employment services and meeting contract requirements. But some organizations have an expanded view. In these cases, the organizations see themselves as being a community storyteller, social change agent, a connecting hub, or other like activities. Here are a few examples of the expanded role that some organizations see for themselves in their communities, beyond simply acting as an employment resource center. I'll leave a few seconds here for individuals to look at the quotes in the slide, but I will share this one here at the bottom that says, I see us as the organization standing strong, that we're the organization that is helping to turn the economy around here. Clearly, this respondent feels that their organization is an active part of the local economic development of the area, as well as with the changing social conditions that are happening in their community, and so that they are an active part of the change and helping that rural community stay strong in a time of adversity. Here are a few other examples from respondents about how they feel their Nova Scotia Works Centre operates in its community and the role that it plays in the overall community's social fabric. One quote here relates to the staff of the organization. The respondent said, it's because that they are from here and they believe in their communities and they don't want to leave their communities. Clearly, it shows that the staff members, volunteers, board members, they're all really invested in what the community has to offer. They're from that area and they want to see it thrive. In summary, the findings present a conceptual model of community integrating functions, each working interdependently from one another. Connecting activities often work to gather information that creates the setting in which the organization can be present. It also feeds the internalizing process and informs new practices later executed. Being present highlights the physical influences to how an organization can engage in the other sets of activities, while deeply understanding client groups informs good practices or operationalized upon later. Internalizing allows an opportunity to reflect on the learnings obtained from the connecting and being present. This includes the physical makeup of the organization and how this will impact future practice. Finally, operationalization is in some ways the most influenced activity, as the other actions undertaken are informed by the information and experiences of the organization. Auxiliary services and the decision to carry out on these activities is the product of this process. The role of the organization in its community is also influenced in this way. So what does this all mean? For me, this research tells us that Nova Scotia Work Centres are dynamic organizations. There are many different ways for organizations to exist in their communities and to carry out the work they identify as being important for their community, beyond the Nova Scotia Works suite of services. In speaking to members of the Nova Scotia Works ecosystem, I understand the system, and the centres in particular, are attentive to the needs of community members. Nova Scotia Works contract holders also play an important role in their communities and promote various forms and attributes of community development. My research has only been able to scratch the surface when it comes to nonprofit organizations delivering government programs in rural areas of whether it's Nova Scotia, Atlantic Canada, or throughout the rest of the country. So this project leaves a few topics for further research and discovery. Among them are the influence of voluntary nonprofit boards on government service delivery, career development as being community development, influence of incentive-based funding on collaboration, and the applicability of this conceptual framework to other jurisdictions and settings. I hope that in the future I would be able to apply this model or this conceptual framework to other situations to see if there would be any differences or whether it's more solely related to the employment services ecosystem in Nova Scotia. Thank you for listening to my presentation today, and I look forward to discussing this topic with you when we meet again virtually later in September. Until then, thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day.